What if I told you that the world around you doesn't actually exist the way you think it does? That the chair you're sitting on, the screen you're looking at, even your own body, isn't fully real until you look at it? This isn't science fiction. This is the observer effect, one of the strangest and most powerful truths revealed by quantum physics. And here's the shocking part. Your thoughts, your attention, and your emotions are not just personal experiences. They're literally the forces that call reality into being. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll not only understand how the observer effect works, you'll know how to use it to shape your destiny. The quantum mystery nobody can escape. In the early 20th century, scientists like Heisenberg, Bohr, and Planck uncovered something so radical that it shook the foundations of reality itself. They discovered that at the smallest levels of existence, atoms, electrons, photons, particles do not behave like fixed objects. Instead, they exist in a state of superposition, floating between multiple possibilities until something happens. That something is observation. When an observer looks, measures, or interacts with the system, the wave of possibilities collapses into one concrete outcome. In other words, reality waits for you to look at it before it decides what it will be. Think about that for a moment. Your very act of perception brings the universe into form. Consciousness is the missing link. Scientists argued for decades. Does observation mean a machine measuring, or does it require human consciousness? But mystics and spiritual teachers like Neville Goddard and modern thinkers like Joe Dispenza argue something radical. It is not the machine that collapses possibility. It is not the lab equipment. It is you. It is your awareness, your consciousness, that creates the final outcome. When you focus on something with belief and emotion, you are not just noticing reality. You are commanding it. The field listens not to your empty thoughts, but to the vibration of your being. Why your attention creates your world. Have you ever noticed that when you worry about something, it seems to happen more often? Or when you fixate on what you don't want, life somehow delivers more of it? That's not coincidence. That's the observer effect at play in your everyday life. Your subconscious attention is collapsing probabilities into form. Every thought, every emotional charge, every expectation is like a vote being cast into the quantum field. The field doesn't judge, it doesn't decide for you. It simply mirrors the energy you're broadcasting. So when you say, I want abundance, but internally you're broadcasting scarcity, guess what reality locks in? Not your words, not your wish, but your state of being. The hidden cost of unconscious observation. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are creating unconsciously. They observe reality through the lens of their past, through fear, through memory, through trauma. And so the field reflects back the same loop, the same struggles, the same disappointments. It feels like fate. It feels like you're stuck. But in truth, you've just been observing the same thing. Again and again, reality has no choice but to obey. Breaking the loop, how to observe differently. So how do you change this? How do you step out of the old loop and start creating new quantum events? The key is intentional observation. Instead of unconsciously reacting, you deliberately choose how to see, how to feel, and how to interpret reality. When something bad happens, you pause and ask, how would my higher self observe this? What vibration am I broadcasting right now? Am I collapsing the possibility I don't want, or the one I do? This shift in observation is the beginning of liberation. Emotional coherence, the secret ingredient. Here's what most people miss. The observer effect doesn't just respond to thought. It responds to coherence. That means your mind, body, and heart must be in alignment. You can think, I am abundant all day, but if your body feels tight, if your emotions are radiating lack, then the field hears confusion. But when your thoughts, emotions, and physiology all line up, when you think abundance, feel abundance, and breathe abundance, your signal becomes undeniable. That's when the field has no choice but to reflect it back. The observer's paradox, why it feels wrong at first. Here's something important to know. When you first try to observe yourself into a new state, it feels fake. You say, I am love, I am free, I am wealthy. And your subconscious screams, no, you're not. That resistance is not failure. It is proof that the old identity is being challenged. Stay with it. Stay in coherence. Stay in the new observation long enough, and the old vibration collapses. Heisenberg's uncertainty and why it matters for you. Werner Heisenberg revealed something stunning. You can never know both the position and momentum of a particle at the same time. Why? Because the very act of measuring one changes the other, translated into human life. When you observe yourself as broke, the possibility of wealth collapses. When you observe yourself as unworthy, the possibility of love collapses. The uncertainty principle isn't just a scientific oddity, it is a reminder. Your observation shapes the limits of what you believe is possible. If you shift what you measure, you shift what becomes real. Neville Goddard's Mirror of Consciousness. Neville Goddard, one of the greatest teachers of manifestation, said, "The world is yourself pushed out." What did he mean? He meant that life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Every time you complain, every time you dwell in fear, every time you rehearse failure in your imagination, you are observing reality through that lens. And reality simply says, as you wish. Your life is nothing but your consciousness reflected back. Bruce Lipton in The Biology of Belief, Doctor. Bruce Lipton proved that your cells don't just respond to your genes, they respond to your environment. But here's the deeper truth. Your perception of the environment is what really programs the cells. If you believe you're in danger, your body shifts into survival mode. If you believe you're safe, your body begins to heal. Your biology is collapsing the probability of illness or health based on one thing: what you observe about yourself and your world. The emotional frequency scale. Think of your emotions like radio stations: fear, anger, guilt. They broadcast on a low-frequency signal. Joy, gratitude, love. They broadcast on a high-frequency signal. The quantum field is like a cosmic mirror. It can only return the station you're tuned into. If you want a new reality, you don't fight the old one. You simply tune your emotional dial. The observer effect is not about forcing reality. It's about aligning with the station of the life you desire. Time is an illusion. Your observation creates sequence. Einstein told us that time is relative. Quantum physics suggests that the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously in the field. So why does it feel like time flows in one direction? Because your observation stitches events together into a linear story. Every time you look at life, you are collapsing the next frame of the movie. Change the way you observe, and you literally step into a different timeline. The observer as creator, not victim. Most people live as if they are at the mercy of life. They say, this happened to me. This ruined me. This defines me. But when you awaken to the observer effect, you realize you were never the victim of reality. You were always the author of it. The pen has been in your hand all along. The field has been waiting for you to choose a new script. Why children manifest so easily? Notice how children live. They imagine something, and within minutes, they're embodying it fully. They observe themselves as the superhero, the explorer, the queen, the magician, and to them, it is reality. This is why children manifest effortlessly. They don't yet question their observation. They don't yet sabotage their vibration with doubt. To return to your power is to return to childlike observation, the silent observer within you. There is a deeper you, the one who watches your thoughts, your emotions, your fears. That silent witness has never been afraid. It has never been lacking. It has never been broken. When you merge with that silent observer, something extraordinary happens. You stop identifying with your old story. You stop collapsing the same old loops. You begin to observe yourself not as small, but as infinite. And the field cannot help but obey. Quantum observation in daily life. This isn't just about meditation or rituals. The observer effect is happening all the time. When you look in the mirror in the morning, how are you observing yourself? When you face a challenge, what story are you observing about it? When someone criticizes you, what vibration do you observe in response? Each of these micro moments is a quantum event. And when you change the observation, you change the trajectory. Living beyond the illusion. The ultimate realization is this: the world you see is not the truth. It is a version of the truth, filtered through your observation. Why most people misuse the observer effect. Many people hear, "Your thoughts create reality," and assume it means repeating affirmations or visualizing harder. But here's the truth. It's not the thought that shapes reality. It's the state of being behind the thought. You can say, "I am abundant" 1,000 times. But if you're observing yourself as desperate, lacking, and fearful, the field only mirrors that. The mistake isn't that manifestation doesn't work. The mistake is observing from the wrong frequency. The observer and the shadow self, Carl Jung reminded us, what we repress doesn't disappear. It rules us unconsciously. In quantum terms, even when you deny your fear, your shame, your insecurity, the field still picks up on it. You're observing unconsciously, broadcasting a signal without even realizing it. But here's the paradox. When you dare to look at your shadow with compassion, you shift its frequency. You stop looping the same old timeline and a new one emerges. The mirror universe, life is a mirror. If you smile, the reflection smiles back. If you frown, the reflection frowns back. The same law governs the quantum field. When you observe from fear, the mirror of reality gives you reasons to fear. When you observe from gratitude, the mirror of reality gives you more to be grateful for. The observer effect is nothing less than a universal mirror, infinitely precise, never missing. Quantum observation and the collapse of limiting identities. We all carry identities. I'm shy, I'm unlucky, I'm not good with money, I'm not lovable. But those aren't truths. They're observations you keep collapsing over and over. The moment you question them, the field rearranges. Because identity isn't fixed. It's a quantum projection. And when you shift who you observe yourself to be, reality obeys instantly. How the field responds to silence. Here's something profound. Sometimes it's not what you say or do that shifts reality. It's the silent state you hold. When you fall into meditation, when you let go of effort, when you simply be, the field receives the clearest signal. Because in silence, your vibration speaks louder than words. The universe doesn't speak English. It speaks energy. And silence is often the purest form of observation. The double slit experiment in your life. The most famous proof of the observer effect is the double slit experiment. When particles aren't observed, they act like waves with infinite possibilities. When they are observed, they collapse into one outcome. That experiment isn't just physics, it's your life. Unobserved, your reality holds infinite possibilities. Observed, it crystallizes into the story you tell yourself. The key? Stop observing from limitation. Start observing from expansion. Breaking the habit of observation. Most people observe life on autopilot. They wake up, look in the mirror, feel the same emotions, think the same thoughts, and collapse the same timeline over and over. That's not fate, that's habit. To break free, you must interrupt the cycle. Ask yourself, what reality am I choosing to observe today? The moment you ask, you become conscious again. The observer beyond death quantum science shows us that energy can't be destroyed, only transformed. If your consciousness is energy, then the silent observer within you doesn't end with the body. It continues. It creates. It observes beyond time and space. This realization isn't meant to comfort you. It's meant to wake you up. Because if you're eternal, then there's no reason to keep collapsing small, fearful realities. So now, as you sit with this truth, let it sink deeper than your mind. Reality doesn't exist until you observe it. It isn't out there waiting to happen to you. It is in here, collapsing in response to who you dare to be. Most people spend their whole lives unconsciously observing limitation. They wake up and see only what they fear, what they lack, what they think is impossible. In the quantum field, flawless, obedient, without judgment, mirrors it back perfectly. But you're different. You're not here by accident. You've been guided to this moment because something in you is ready to wake up. Something in you knows. You are the observer, the chooser, the director of infinite possibility. Every breath you take is an observation. Every emotion you hold is an observation. Every belief you repeat is an observation. And with each observation, timelines collapse, futures form, reality rearranges. So the question isn't, can I manifest? The question is, what am I observing into existence right now? Because you've never been powerless. You've never been stuck. You've simply been observing yourself as powerless, as stuck, and the field reflected it. But today that cycle ends. Today you step back into the truth. The quantum field doesn't respond to effort or struggle or waiting. It responds to one thing only, your state of being. So observe yourself now as abundant. Observe yourself now as free. Observe yourself now as loved, worthy, limitless. And reality, unshakable, inevitable, will obey. Remember, you are not here to chase timelines. You are here to choose them. And the moment you choose, with your heart, with your breath, with your entire state of being, the universe has no choice but to collapse into the reflection of who you truly are. Because in the end, the observer effect is not about physics, it's about you. You've always been the experiment. You've always been the evidence. And you've always been the creator. So step boldly, breathe deeply, and remember this simple, eternal truth. Reality only exists when you observe it. And today, you finally remember how powerful your observation really is.